Yeah, we are excited about the interest that that today's clinic gained. So thank you all for being here. My name is Aino Rockinen. I am the marketing coordinator at Kendis, and today we have Justin Oki on the call. He will be leading the discussion with all of you, and we also have our support team here who will be answering questions virtually, maybe more about the software, just more specific questions. Yeah, so this is our first Kendis clinic. We're starting these monthly. And today's topic is dependencies, as you know, and we know this is a big, important topic for all our customers. So yeah, excited to hear what you all have to say, questions that you have. Yeah, and our next one, although I said we'll be having these monthly, our next clinic will actually be next week, next Wednesday. Yes, here is the poster, and it will be about setting up your PI planning, setting up your boards for your upcoming PI, which it'll be more of a technical one. Our support team will likely be hosting that one. So if you want to go ahead and register, you can scan that QR code, or I will send that link for that event in the follow-up email from this event. So yeah, excited to see you all there as well. Yeah, so in terms of today's event, we have two things I would like to ask for you all to do. There should be a raise hand feature on your screen. And if you have a question that you want to ask Justin and have a discussion about, if you could raise your hand and we will unmute you and you can talk, that would be great. And then if you have more of a specific question for the support team, maybe about our software, like something just specific about dependencies or something like that, you can ask it in the questions section of your webinar panel, and our support team will answer it virtually, and hopefully we'll have those answers streaming for everyone so you can see what everyone's asking. So yeah, that's about it. I'm going to hand it off to Justin. He's going to be leading the discussion today.
Yeah. Thank you very much. Can you hear me, Aino?
Yes, I can hear you.
Brilliant. Okay, it's working. Hello, good morning, good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to the first clinic. It's me again. Unfortunately, you're going to have to hear my voice droning on for quite a while on this one. The idea of these clinics is obviously just to sort of deep dive into the functionalities within Kendis. And we want to open it up for questions and answers. Some of the questions you have will be technical. Those of you that know me will know that I'm not technical. So please, please, please put it in the chat, as I know quite rightly said, in for the support guys and girls to answer. And save the high level conversations or questions for the hand raising that's going to happen. So for those of you that attended I think it was Tracking Your PI event, we kind of suggested some of the ceremonies, and in one of those was the dependency meetings. So obviously when SAFE talks about tracking your PI, they talk about doing the Scrum of Scrums, and we suggested that you have a separate meeting for dependency meetings, just because that's what we do in Kendis. That's what works for us. So that's all that suggestion was from. When we did a poll, I think most people did had the discussions about dependencies in their Scrum and Scrum. So please continue doing what works for you. But yeah, I suppose it depends how many teams you have and how big a complexity that you have there. So with these dependency meetings, it was facilitated by either the product manager or the release train engineer, depending on the structure of the organization. We have hours, 30 minutes, and what we talk about is, what's within this sprint and what's in the upcoming sprint as well. We have those of people that are responsible for dependencies only attending. We don't have, all of the Scrum Masters attending those meetings because they don't need to be there. So it's just the people that are responsible for these meetings. And then the discussion points are pretty much how you would make it yourself. So I will leave this and I will go into Kendis itself and minimize this go to webinar thing out the way. Hopefully I can see your hands if you raise it. Okay, so we've got the Kendis board here, and you will see that the dependencies are off, of course, but you've got the numbers on the corners of the cards. Most of you will know that you can just switch on dependencies by this toggle here, and you'll have all of the lines of dependencies. Now, what I want to just make clear, when we say dependencies, what we mean are the relationships that determine the order of work. So when a feature is going to be built by more than one team, we don't refer to that as a dependency. If you need a story to be completed prior to another story being worked on, then we would say that that's a dependency. And that's up to you then to mark that as a dependency. So when I talk about dependencies, I'm talking about the dependencies that will establish the order of work that needs to be done. Okay. First of all, I will talk about setting up dependencies. I will go to another board there so I don't mess up my boards. In the board settings here, you will get, I think it's admin users or super admin users who will have access to this, but you will get the edit board settings. In the additional settings part here, you will see this. And actually, if you don't have it selected, my mouse, you'll see it like this. So enable Geo Dependencies. It's also the same, by the way, for Azure DevOps. So if I select that now, what it will do is it will show me all of the link types I have in Jira with this connection. So I can select the ones that relate to dependencies for me. And these are the ones that will be showing on the board. And also, it means, of course, when dependencies are created here, they'll be created in your Jira using whatever link that you've selected. If you are seeing that the one that you would like is grayed out, it may be that in your filter, when you set up the board initially, you are using that particular filter, that particular link, sorry. So please, if you select so we get this a lot. Some people select lots of links here, and then they're surprised that it doesn't appear in this list here, or it's grayed out for them. So please just double check. If you can't see the one that you need, make sure that it's not in the other one, because obviously with Jira, you can only do one link for one purpose, which makes sense, right? So if I scroll down, there's more to be said for dependencies. It's not just all in that one area. You can see here, we've got automatically update dependencies if the parents are marked as done. So if it's marked as done in your Jira, then automatically you can have it that dependencies marked as done here in Kendis. And same with the stories as well. We didn't automatically do that just because, just because something is marked as done, and you can't see me, but I'm doing inverted commas, doesn't mean that everything is all hunky-dory with that dependency. So we just left that open for, for yourself to configure. We've also got the ability to change the arrows of dependencies. You'll see that our dependencies are directional. We've got little arrows on them. You can change that if it doesn't complicate things. I think in Azure DevOps, it's quite complicated because it's, the naming convention. But you can change the arrows. You can also have a WIP limit of dependencies. Not many people know this, but if you've got one team that you're trying to coach and trying to restrict, or actually, multiple teams, I guess, is trying to restrict the number of dependencies that everybody has, then you can have a WIP limit on that. So that is, in a nutshell, how to set up the board. Are there any questions on that, by the way? Oh, I see a hand up.
Okay, yes, I'm gonna I'm gonna unmute Binto Curian first.
Easy for you to say.
Binto, can you hear us? If you want to talk, ask your question. says you're self-muted. Send unmute request. Let's see. Tricky.
Yeah, okay. The two-step process. I got it. Can you hear me now?
Hi, Vinto. Yes,
Yeah.
loud and
Yes.
clear. How you doing?
All right. Yeah. So next time it won't be so much of delay, I promise. All right.
Don't worry.
When you were showing that options and of the dependency status link to when the dependency status should change, had this confusion. Dependency is just one entity, right? So when you say dependent, what's the difference between dependency status of parent item and dependency status of child item? Because dependency is one, and status of dependency is what we're talking about.
Yeah. Okay. So when we talk about parent and child in this scenario, we're talking about features and user stories, or PBIs.
Okay.
So if you're in, are you using Jira, Binta?
Correct.
Yeah. So most of the people will use epics and user stories.
Mm-hmm.
So the epics will be the parent, and the child items will be the user stories. It may be that when you have the user stories that are done underneath that epic, you also want the epic to be marked as done, if there's a dependency on there.
But only when all, for example, if under the epic we had 3 stories and all the 3 stories had some dependencies, only when all the stories dependencies have been complete, the parent features dependency will be complete, correct?
So first of all, it will be the epic to epic or epic to story dependency, and when that epic is marked as done, that will be then shown as done in Kendis if you want to.
Okay.
The ones that relate to the stories are just on the stories. We don't then say, okay, well, 3 user stories are done, including 1 dependency. So we'll just mark that dependency on the feature as done. We don't do that.
Okay. So this is for the dependency status between stories and parent epics. But how would, if I have a dependency between 2 stories, right?
Yeah.
And in Kendis we have a dependency workflow where we can have statuses for the dependency itself, right? So dependency is accepted, in progress, like that.
Yes.
So now, so these stories which are dependent, when the stories are complete or done, is there a way that a dependency workflow is triggered and the dependency also moves to a closed state? I hope I was clear on my question.
You're clear. It's just my understanding. So I think you're talking about the statuses here.
Correct. Yes.
So we wouldn't put it in a workflow. This is just marking it as done, as resolved. In fact, I think, is it resolved or done? Yeah, this is just marking it as done. Yeah, but we don't then have a separate workflow then for this.
Okay, so in an actual scenario, when a story A is dependent on story B, now when the story B is done, and we have to come here and change the dependency status manually, correct?
No, you can have it that it's updated. If it's done, you can have it that it's updated automatically. So that's the purpose of this one, yeah?
Okay.
But so you can have it that it's done automatically. If you want to put it in another status, like in progress, or I don't know, the other statuses that you saw on that list, then you'd have to do that manually, yes.
Got it.
All right.
Thank you.
No worries at all. Thank you, Victor. Were there any other hand raising? No.
There was, and I think he entered it into the questions instead. Do you want me to read it?
Yeah.
Do you want me to read it? Yeah. So there were 2.
Yeah.
It was could you show us a recommended configuration to start? I think it's difficult that teams know the right dependence directions, and then the other one was the program board shows dependencies between a story and a feature ? And it was from the same guy, so I thought he was going to ask maybe both of those.
Okay, so I'll let support answer the first one.
Okay.
If that's okay. And the second one, yes, absolutely. So in fact, I will go into here. Dependencies are possible from feature to feature features to user stories or user stories to user stories. So you have all the, all that you would want to do with dependencies you can do. And of course, all of these will be updated in your ALM, your Jiras or your Azure DevOps, etc. So if I go into one of these to create a dependency, you'll see that the one I clicked on was the feature. Automatically, this is the creator. So on this board, we are creating the dependency, and these are the ones that have received the request for a dependency. So they're the ones that are going to be doing the work, the receivers. This is where the link type is. Again, you select which ones that you would like if it's going back to your ALM. If you don't want it to go back to your ALM, some people will have, it just might be for one particular team that are your vendors, for example, or for whatever reason, you can have Kendis link types there. So this one, of course, will not go back to Jira, but it will still be in the dependency list, and you can monitor it, etc. Then we've got the receiver. So these are the people that are going to do the work. You can filter based on the features. It's easier to type in the keyword, and then you can find out what you need to find out. But other than that, you can scroll and find out which feature you want, or you press on this and you go to the stories, and you can find out if you know just the story. Type in the story ID, it's easier. Then you can find it and select it. Okay. So then we've got the summary and the description. Now, this is just because we realized that when we were doing the PR plannings, it was all very well put in a post-it note size thing, but 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 4 weeks afterwards, we forget what the actual dependency was. And of course, you look in Jira, you try and sort of navigate your way around. But so we had another field here for description. So again, encourage people to put actually what the dependency is, because whilst we're all together is one thing, but weeks down the line when you have to do the actual work, you tend to forget. So actually put in what the description is. The summary part is quite important for the list view, because in the list view, we display the summary, which I'll show you in a second. So it is quite important. So don't just put dependency with, or something loose like that. Just put the actual, what you would put on a post-it note, pretty much. We've got the statuses, which I showed already. I always tell this, but unfortunately we had to put waiting for acceptance, because when teams were doing their PR planning, they were just sneakily putting dependencies on other teams without telling them or having conversation with them. So we had to have that status, waiting for acceptance. So that's why we've got that. And we've got all of these other statuses as well. The one that would be automatically done would be the done. And that's if, as you saw in the settings, if a story is marked as done in Jira or Azure DevOps, then you can have it that it's marked as done. You can say when the target resolution date, it might be a particular date or milestone that you need this to be done by. And you can put in a responsible person. So mark as a responsible person for that dependency. Conversations you can have later, but once, I won't save it, but once this is all saved, it will go off to one list. So it will go off to this list view here. And this area here is really for when you want to do your dependency meetings. So I'll come back to this one, but I just want to highlight that if you've got one particular feature, let me hide these now. Actually, look, on here, you've got a filter based on your, you can just see, if you want to just see the open, if you want to just see the resolved, you can just select and deselect and see the ones that you would like to see. Often people don't see this because they're flicking around too quickly, but it's a very useful filter. Also, you'll see that we've got lots of different colors there. The Blue ones are the ones that were created in Jira. It may be that you've got, or Azure DevOps, it may be that you've got them, you know, they're already in existence. They're already sitting pretty in Jira, and we can display that in Kendis, but we display it as blue. The red lines are the ones that are actually, they've gone out of date. So they are the ones that, you know, we thought we were going to get this by such and such a date, but actually the date has passed, or it's moved. So that's what the red ones are. The grey ones are just fine, but the green ones are the done ones. So when it's resolved or done, then it will go green. So those are what the colors are. Lots of people, we do think about removing this drag. So you can drag from one corner to the other. So people, yeah, that's how you create dependency. If you've got lots of teams, rather than sort of figuring out how to drag to, you know, your team at the bottom, you can just click on here to create the dependency. It's a lot easier. And when you're in this view, we've even got a little filter based on each dependency. So for example, we've got this feature 6, we've got 2 here. I can see that we've got 2 dependencies here. So for each one of these, you can see where all of the dependencies are. So sometimes you've got a scenario like this where you've got lots of lines from one. It's just easier just to sort of click and see what's happening. Okay, these are the 3 user stories and these are the 2 features. Brilliant. It may be that you've got stories that are still in the backlog. We have this filter not visible as lines. So these stories have links, but they're not here on the Kendis board. So we're not able to say what sprint they're in or what team we're working on them. So that's where the not visible as lines comes in. I think you get a nice little explanation here. Yeah, you get a nice little explanation there. Visible in Phoenix mode. Those of you that will remember the Phoenix mode, the bird's eye view is the last bird's eye view, so the highest view that you could get, and that is with just seeing the Jira epics or the features on the board, and of course you'll see more blue lines because in Jira epics do not go by sprints, of course. So what we'll say is, okay, there's dependencies on these features, but we don't know what sprints they're in, so we just show you them in the Phoenix mode. So in the Phoenix mode, you'll see lots more blue lines, for example. Okay, is there any questions at the moment? I don't see anyone's hands up. There's one.
Okay, we got Binto again. I think he's unmuted.
Yeah, I just unmuted.
There you
Yeah,
go.
Justin, I'm not very clear on the dependencies that's seen in Phoenix alone. So is it the case that I can create an epic to epic link dependency and I can see that only in Phoenix view, or is it like a summary of the dependencies?
Yeah, okay, so yeah, so the Phoenix view, do you understand the Phoenix view, the whole purpose of the Phoenix view?
Right, the highest level view, so the last time the last story in that particular feature is being worked on, right?
Exactly, yes, absolutely, by which team. And of course, when you've got your epic link, so if you've got epic to epic, in Jira, we don't know what team is going to be working on it because it's not in a sprint backlog. It's yeah, we don't know what sprints are going to be with that epic, you see? So what we have here in the Phoenix mode is the last time anybody is going to be working on it, and we will show you then, okay, there is, let me find the blue one, there is a link between the 2 epics. Maybe I don't think I explained that very well. Let me minimize this so you see. Are you still with me, Binto?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, so go to meeting things in the way. Look, these two epics here, feature 8 and feature 3. It's come from Jira, so it just shows that there's a link. But if I go to feature 8, it's not going to say, okay, this feature 8 is going to be in sprint 3. Because as you know, these epics do not go sprint by sprint. So we can't show it.
Right.
Does that make sense?
Okay, so this applies only to the feature to feature links, or rather Jira epic to Jira epic links.
Exactly. Yes, exactly.
Okay, so that won't be seen in the Alicante view because you don't. So would it be seen in the Alicante view as well?
So in the Alicante view, we can't show that unless it's got stories. We can't show it. Okay. So the Alicante view has got the sprints and it's got the teams. You see?
Got it. Okay.
Okay. But you can actually go into the feature. So let's stop playing around with the lines. Let me show you this. I don't know if people would have seen this as such, but here, look, feature 8. You can go into the feature and I can actually have a look to see which dependencies that we've got on the feature level and these not visible by lines. So if you've got any not visible by lines, I don't have any on this one, but you can see them here. If you scroll down to the team stories, you can see which ones that we've got here. You can even click on these to see more details on the user story. Okay.
Okay.
Thank you. Is there any more at all? Any more questions?
Yeah, just on this same page itself. So when you have that all as the option, as a radio button, I think if you close this, you will see this. If you can close. No, go back to the more dependencies.
More.
The listing.
Okay. You mean this area?
Yeah. So that all button, as I understand that all button, when you say it's all dependencies, but it will not include the epic to epic dependencies, and it will not include the not visible as lines, correct?
Okay, so I'm going to come into this one. I'm going to come into this one next, okay? But I will cover that one, absolutely.
Thank you.
No worries at all, no worries. Any more questions on the board? Any more questions on the board at all? No.
Doesn't look like any. Make sure you all are using the raise hand feature if you want to talk out loud.
Awesome.
Oh,
Thank
here we
you
got
very
one.
much. Oh, okay.
I'm going to unmute John Groom. I saw that one first.
Oh.
John. And you're self-muted, so if you unmute yourself, John, you should be able to talk now.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yes.
Loud and clear.
Great.
How are you doing, John?
Great, I'm doing great. Thanks for asking.
Good.
I just wondered, on our version of Kendis, we're self-hosted. We have yellow lines. You don't have any of those showing. Is that because you're cloud hosted, or is there another reason?
Have you got the up-to-date one, John?
I think so.
Okay.
Actually, the yellow's kind of hard to see as well, actually. But...
Oh, is it? Okay, that's a good feedback. We do have yellow. Let me just check. We do have yellow. There we go, look.
Yeah, okay.
And this one is open dependency and the receiver card has moved to a different sprint. So that's what that is. So when it moves to another sprint, then it will show up as yellow.
Right, okay.
All right. There's a legend here in the list. Yeah. You just have to hover on it. We're trying to figure out a way to put it on the main board, but we don't want to, busy the board. So we're trying to be cute about that.
Sure, understand. Okay, thanks.
All right. No worries at all. Cheers, John. Is there another one at all?
There is, and also our support team messaged me saying that there's a help article about yellow lines, and that they messaged John about it. So we should be able to get some help. Yeah. Okay, we have another one from Gideon. I'm going to unmute you, Gideon Shipper.
Yes, thank you. Good afternoon. How are you?
Hi. Very good, thank you. All the better for hearing you, Gideon.
Yeah, very fine, thanks. About this screen, is it also will this list of dependencies also contain dependencies that are with features or stories not on the board? So with other value streams, for instance?
You mean all of the dependencies in your Jira?
Yeah.
Yeah, no, we wouldn't show that. So if the features were here, and we've got all of the stories on the board, then we can play around with that. But if the features are not in Kendis, we don't then just go to your Jira board and grab the features, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Okay. Clear. Thank you.
We do show. That being said, so if there is one feature that is on the Kendis board that has got a dependency with another feature that is not in Kendis, we can show that. Not visible as lines, and you'll see items not on the Kendis board.
Okay, excellent. Yeah.
All right.
So these are from Jira then?
Yeah, exactly. That's coming directly from Jira. Just because we know that Mars 4 here has a dependency with this one here, feature 82.
Okay, that was what I was looking for. Yeah.
Brilliant. Okay, no worries at all. No worries. Any other questions at all, Ina?
No other hands.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. So I will go into this, talk about this view now. So this is where we wanted you to sort of address all of your dependencies. Please have a responsible person for all of the dependencies. It's just as useful, I think. When it's blank, you don't really know who to talk to. You have to go into the dependencies themselves. And when you've got over hundreds of dependencies, it's very difficult to know who to talk to. I know it's within the team, so maybe you have a team representative talking. So, but yeah, you know what I mean. So we've got here, I'll talk about the filters at the top. You saw me doing some of them. We've got the filters here. Again, the creators on this one are the people who are asking, and the receivers are the ones that need to do the work. It's a bit of a topsy-turvy way of saying it, but we can't win. Damned if we do, damned if we don't. The most popular one is the iteration, the receiver iteration. So we go to this view here. This is the view for the most people use. Because, of course, it's got this. I keep getting muted for some reason. I hope you can hear me now. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay. So we've got the list of the sprints and of course the people that need to do the work. We've also got IDs for some of these dependencies, because what we want to do is treat it as an object, because we've got lots more things coming up that we're going to do for dependencies to help you guys out. So that's the start of it. Of course, you can click into it and this will be brought up here. And you can edit it as much as you like in this view. So I'll move on. We've got the responsible people, so you can choose who, have a filter it by people who are responsible. So even in your meetings, you can just check the people that are responsible if then are spread across the teams. If not, then it's fine. You can just go team by team, of course, but we've got that option there. We've also got options to filter out or weed out whatever you need, just to show the list here. And by color, you saw color view here. You can change, this says by color now, but you can change this to all of the ones that are under more. So for example, you saw that we have reporter and responsible in the dependencies. If you wanted to just have a look at the reporters, you can just select that and select the reporters. And it seems like it's hidden, but we didn't want to have just lots of radio tabs and lots of drop down. So if you want to filter on something and you don't see it on the main part here, please go to more filters and just scroll and just have a look to see whether or not what you're looking for is there. Select it and you'll be given the options. Okay. So then we've got here the radio buttons here. These are, you see all, we've got by features, we've got by stories. Now these will always add up, but as you saw earlier, it may be that we've got scenarios that you can only see in the Phoenix view, and these of course relate to the features, when the features are not in any sprints. So if you click on that, you can see the ones that are in Jira, and it just says, okay, these are the ones that we've got going on in Jira. You can edit them as well. They probably wouldn't have anything written on them because they've come straight from Jira. And actually, I noticed that you may not be able to, yeah, you can close it without putting the status in there. But yeah, so these are Phoenix only. And then the not visible as lines, we've got two categories: items in the backlog, and this refers to the Kendis backlog. So this would be the ones that are, we've got this, both these stories are in Kendis, but one of them is on the left-hand side. It's just sitting there in the backlog. We don't know what sprint it's in, we don't know what team it's in. So rather than putting a line straight from the story into the backlog, we just show you in a list view. So that's what items in backlog means. Items not on the Kendis board, hopefully you saw by Binto's example, how that would be. I don't know, it wasn't Binto, was it? It was Gideon, I think. How you could have a feature link into another feature that's not in Kendis, and we can show that here. Items not on the Kendis board. Okay. So, are there any questions at all?
Don't see any.
Okay.
Bento keeps raising his hand and then putting it down. I don't know if he wants to talk or not. Oh, here we go. We got Gideon again.
Okay.
Yes, hi. Just to be sure, maybe you told us before, but sorry if I ask the same question again. In the features not visible as lines on the board, does that only show dependencies between features or also between, for instance, a story and a feature or two stories?
So this here, items not on the board, is it? This is what you're referring to, not visible as lines. That covers stories as well.
Okay, yeah, excellent.
Yeah, all right, yeah. So the Phoenix mode covers the features only, but this covers the both.
We have another one from Jonathan Lowry.
Oh.
Gonna unmute you, and if you unmute yourself, Jonathan.
Hello.
Hi, Jonathan.
Hello.
How you doing?
Hey, Justin. Doing well. And yourself?
Yeah, not bad at all. Thank you.
Great.
Good to hear from you.
So, I've been trying to follow along on my own Kendis board as you're showing, and I glanced up on your screen while I was busy on my board and saw like a summary page, unless I'm totally mistaken about what I saw, but it like had objectives and other stuff on there like in one view. I may have not missaw what I was seeing, but I thought I saw like objectives and some other categories, not just dependencies. I may have been mistaken.
Jonathan, it's very hard to hear you a little bit. I'm so sorry. I don't know why.
Sorry.
It's a bit muffly.
I was talking about, I was trying to follow along on your board, on my board, and I looked up to your screen and I saw like a summary type page that had just like not only dependencies, but some other categories as well.
Was it this? Was it when we looked into the feature? And we got this view here.
Yes. Okay.
Yes. Yeah, not many people know about this one either. It is quite useful. So you would have all of the dependencies. If this feature was in any objectives, if it was linked to any risks, any impediments in our Scrum feature, any action points, all of the stories. And this is actually where we find it quite useful in the story list, because if you've got lots of stories, you can see which orders, which order the stories are going to be completed, hopefully. But we've also got the number of dependencies on the stories as well. And of course, the stories that we have here that are not on in the sprints. So at least you can sort of differentiate. But yeah, this summary view is, if you click on those 3 dots, yeah, you get those summary views when you view details. All right. Was that the only question that you had, Jonathan?
Yeah, I just glanced
Excellent.
at it. Where's that at?
No worries at all. Anyone else at all? Okay. I will just show you quickly that we've got analytics that are based on dependencies. So they are spread around at the moment. We have analytics on the Scrum of Scrums view. So basically, it's just a collection of dependencies that you have in your previous sprint or iteration, or your current ones. And you can just, if you're talking in your Scrum of Scrums, you're talking about the dependencies, you can just click on these. You can open them up and have the discussions that you need. If it is just, yeah, if you do this in your Scrum of Scrums, it makes sense to do this way. If you want to talk more in depth and you want to actually have that view of the dependency boards when in your Scrum of Scrum, say for example, this is going to go on for an hour, then of course I would suggest that you have another, you duplicate it, and then you can have a look in your dependencies in this view here. We will make it easy for you to go into, but at the moment this is just a suggestion. So if you want to talk about it, go into more depth, then have this open as well as your Scrum of Scrums. But we do have a direct link anyway to the numbers of the dependencies, but just not to that dependency view at the moment. We also have the dependency. Let me switch off those lines. Get distracted by them. We also have the dependencies in the inspect and adapt. It's just kind of to show you, okay, this is how the PI went in total, and these are how many dependencies that we did, and how many dependencies we closed, etc., etc. And in the smart reports as well, we have the dependencies updates and the dependency dashboard. So if I go into, bearing in mind I haven't got much data on my screen, so apologies for that. But in the dependency updates, you'll see all of the dependencies that we've got. And here we'll see like a timeline of when dependencies were created and resolved as well. You can even click on these and they will show you what dependencies that they're referring to. So please play around with that if you haven't, if you'd like to get more stats on them. Most of you know who were on the last calls that we've had, but you can adjust the time frame here for these. Not sure if they relate to dependencies as such, but more the scope and delivery changes. I think that's really what we would like to know. But you can see team by team when dependencies were open. And of course, yeah, last week, this week for the dependencies. We've got Dependencies Dashboard as well. This is where I show off our wheel, dependency wheel. We find it useful. I don't know, maybe I need to check to see if other companies are also writing about it. But so our dependency wheel is sort of there to help you out. If you've got lots of dependencies between teams, we kind of want to highlight it. So what we do is the more dependencies that you have, the thicker the line. So if you see the thin line, they only have one dependency between them. If I go to the thick line here, it's because they've got 7 dependencies. I can click on that and I can see all 7 of them if I wanted to. And I can see that so Team Earth and Team Venus have strong dependencies on each other. So it might be, rather than just seeing lots of red lines and, sitting back proud that you've got lots of red lines everywhere, you might actually, it will give you data to do something about for teams if you need to suggest improvements in your organization. So we want to actually give you data to do something about it. And of course, here we've got the dependencies here. At the moment, it just shows the number of dependencies per each team. So these will be your, effectively your bottlenecks, the ones that are doing the work. And these are the ones that are crying out for the dependencies to be done. They're waiting. So we'll show you the numbers here at the moment. There are plans to obviously say, like Team Earth, for example, maybe triple the size of Team Venus, but we don't show you it here yet. There are plans now. We've got the sort of, playing around with team capacity and all of that, where we can actually show you, we'll do something clever around that to show you the sizes and the how much time they have, etc. Okay, I will pause now for questions, if you have any.
I'm not seeing any.
Okay. I think is that a good thing?
You're being so clear that there's just no question about what you're saying.
I get that. Yeah, I get that.
Yeah.
Okay, guys. Well, you've got our details anyway, and if it's too technical for me, please email. Oh, I see a hand going up.
Yep, that's Sean. I'll unmute.
Okay.
Hi again. Thanks. So talking about link types that you did at the beginning, what I saw in the last PI planning was that people were manually adding features, which is fine, using the green plus button. But when they did that, somebody selected all types. So they did add existing, and then they found the feature that they wanted to add because they'd created it in Jira first.
Okay.
And then when they came to they got prompted to select the link types, and they selected everything. So first part of this question is that becomes the default from that point onwards. And so I ended up with 27 features that had every single Jira link type selected for them, which caused a big problem. And I had to remove all those features and recreate them, whatever. But so the first thing is there a way of preventing what the last person entered as the link types as becoming the default for everyone moving forward?
I am hoping, thank you, John. I'm hoping that somebody in support is able to answer that question.
Okay, so essentially they clicked on check all.
Why would we have check all? I'm trying to think what scenario you'd have check all in.
Yeah, so they did that, and then they added all the features, and then everybody got features added.
I see. Okay, I know. I can imagine why. So check all would be by default, and then every time you create a feature under that project key, you would have to select which one it related to.
Right.
I think that's what it is. So because as you know, there are multiple links that you can have under these Jira epics. As lovely and great as Jira is, my God, there's so many options. So all of these links here, so it will be up to you how you create so when you're creating a story, what's the link? Do you want this to be blocks? Do you want this to be block by or implements or whatever the link type is?
Right. And I only wanted is parent of. And they just checked all, and then it just became a bit of a mess.
Yeah, I understand. Yeah, maybe that's something that's maybe that's an enhancement if it's not there. But please check your answers in case support have answered that question, John. Okay. If not, then I'm sure that's an enhancement that can be made.
Right. I think that there might be another way of just restricting what link types a regular user can check. That might be another way to help out.
Yeah, you mean in the configuration when you're setting it up?
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe. Did you say something? I know they writing something.
Yeah. Support wrote something in the chat. They said we have noted it down and forwarded it to the teams. It was just to make it easier to select the link types, but it's better to hide all links option from there.
Yeah. Perfect.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you, John. Oh, is there anybody else? Binto, you must have something. Come on. No, okay. Guys, it's been a pleasure. Thank you very much for everything. If you've got any suggestions about what, obviously, as I know quite rightly said, the next one will be about setting up your boards. It will be much more technical. You're not going to have to hear me droning on. But just because we realize that PI planning season is coming, so that's why we're doing it next week. But we are trying to do this monthly. If you've got any suggestions for what the upcoming clinics should be, please do let us know. And
Yes,
yeah, we'll keep it going.
that question will be in the survey as this webinar ends, so you can enter any suggestions you have.
Oh, fantastic. Thank you very
Yeah.
much. All right, guys, thank you very much. It's a pleasure.
Yes,
And,
thank you all.
See you next time. Take care.
Bye.
Bye.